Good evening. This is Tyrone Holmes, the founder and CEO of the MSF. We welcome you back to the Trauma Network for Men. We're so glad to be back with you again. Brother Josh is with us. Good to have you, brother.
Good to have you too, brother.
All right, it's good to have him. Brother Dwight is not with us tonight. We hope that you have enjoyed the broadcast over the last 2 months. We have been bringing you some powerful messages dealing with men issues, and it's very, very important that we as men learn how to address our anger and our violence. We've been talking about, Brother Josh, dealing with how we don't know how to communicate with one another. And it always seems that the world, and we always talk about this for the last couple of months, is that we put ourselves, or the world puts us in a box. And if we do not operate in that box, then we get condemned for doing something that really is right, but the world said is wrong.
Right.
And that's a bad way to do that, but a lot of us have not been trained as how to be a man because there have not really been no true men in our lives, so it's very hard for us to relate. So when we get ready to do something, we really don't know. We do it by, how can I say it? We do it by trial and error. That's what it is. And I always said that we learn how to be a man by what we see on television and by what we see in the street. So tonight, we're going to get into our next broadcast. We finished up last week on dealing with kill the man's dreams, kill the man, and we also want to send another shout out to my friend in West Virginia, Brother T.J. Coleman. We thank you for that idea in the book that you wrote, CP Time No More. You did an awesome job, and I really, really enjoyed the book, and we thank you for the insight, and we hope that you're being blessed by the broadcast, and we ask you to pass the word on to your other friends in that area and around the country. All those that are watching the broadcast, we ask that you tell your friends about the broadcast and let them know if you have any questions. We do have a hotline number that you can call us if you want to talk confidentially. We do have a hotline number which we will give you at the end of the broadcast. So let's start out with our topic for tonight, which is called the wounded man. The wounded man. Brother Josh, when I say that word, the wounded man, what goes through your mind?
A man that's been hurt.
Okay, all right.
Somebody who hasn't had the father figure in his life.
Okay, all right. Okay, anything else? Up to your mind about being wounded, because there could be.
You can have emotional wounds.
That's right, absolutely, absolutely,
physical wounds.
absolutely.
Healed.
That's right, exactly. So we as men, and those that are listening to the broadcast, we can be wounded many different ways, but mainly our main wound is given usually by our father. If the father was not present there in our lives, that's a wound that a young boy will never ever get over, because if a man is not there to show him how to do certain things, we're not saying that a mother doesn't love his child, the mother doesn't love the child, the mother does, but she can only do but so much for that young boy.
Right.
So, excuse me, so when we come down to dealing with a man's wound, we have to first go back.
We have to address what the wound is.
Absolutely, absolutely. We got to address what the wound is. So we got to really go back to the beginning of about the wounded man and how it all started. I'm going to just read a few things here, and then we're going to get into our conversation tonight. The story of Adam. We look back at the book of Genesis in the Bible. We talk about the story of Adam's fall in every man's story, and there is a story in every man's story. We have to look at our story. Each one of us men have a story to tell. Some of those stories are worse than others, but we all have a story to tell. It is simple and straightforward, almost mystic in its brevity and depth. And so every man comes into the world set up for a loss of heart. Brother Josh, we had this conversation the other day. We're talking about that. What do we mean by loss of heart? What does that mean? Loss of heart.
Glad you asked, Tyrone. It's the men, we're trained to not have feelings.
That's right, absolutely.
We come out in anger, violence.
That's right.
No relationships.
That's right. That's right. So loss of heart can mean a lot of things in a man's life. So if we're dealing with there's no emotions, we as men are trained not to have no emotions. What do we mean by that? No crying. Yep. Suck it up. Take care of your business. Right. Okay? Those are emotionless things that we as men.
Well, what kind of business can you handle if you don't know how to?
Well, and that's true too. That's a different subject. That's true too. But we have to get past that emotion to take care of that business. Yep. If we don't, like you said, if we don't know how to take care of the business, that means we have not been trained because we have been wounded. So if that wound has not been healed, we cannot move forward. Right. So to address those issues of loss of heart, Usually 9 times out of 10, that wound comes from a father, and we're going to deal with that issue in 1 second. Excuse me, I got a tickle in my throat. Then comes the story we are much more aware of, which is our own story. Where Adam's story seems simple, straightforward, our own seems complex in detail. Many more characters are involved, and the plot is sometimes hard to follow. But the outcome is always the same: a wound in the soul. What do we mean by a wound in the soul? The wound of the soul is very emotional.
Yes.
Because that's something that you cannot see.
Yeah, it's emotional.
And so what that means, go ahead, Brother Josh.
Many times the wound comes from the father.
That's right.
Maybe the father was there and he had beat you and all that.
Sure.
Or maybe the father wasn't there and your mother had to take over.
Yes.
But like you said before, your mother can only teach you so much.
That's right.
Because, as we're going to go back into this, masculinity is bestowed.
That's right.
You can't get it from a female because
That's
a
right.
female doesn't know
That's right.
what a man knows.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so true. Okay. Every boy in his journey to become a man. Now we got to understand one thing. When that boy is born, when a young boy is born, and mothers, when you give birth to that child, that boy is on a journey. And he has to figure out, how am I going to make it on this journey? Because a lot of boys don't know. See, women are a little bit different when they teach their girls. They teach that girl how to cook. They teach them how to dress, how to put their makeup on, how to talk, how to dress people, how to speak, how to communicate about their emotions, they teach you all that. But boys are not taught those things.
And they always take a sin in the arrow of their heart.
Yeah, that's right, because we are always wounded, because if those things are not present in our lives as young boys, then that's an emotional wound that we're carrying in our heart.
That's an arrow in there.
That's right, that's right.
Take the arrow
Now, but now, if an arrow is in there, now we know that an arrow can wound you.
Oh, yeah.
But if you take it out and not being careful, you can die.
Yep.
Okay, let's go back to, did you ever watch that program? What was the guy that used to do the animal show? Steve,
Oh, you're talking about
I can't think of that program, but it was very powerful.
Crocodile Hunter.
The Crocodile Hunter in Australia. You remember about 2 years ago, not Dundee.
The other,
His name is Steve, but I can't think of his last name. Him and his wife was together.
Yep, that's what
So what happened was, he used to catch all these animals, but one day he got stung, or he got hit by a stingray, and the stingray's tail got caught in his heart.
That was Dundee.
It wasn't Dundee. His name was. It's not Dundee. That's not Dundee. It's not Dundee. He was a crocodile hunter, but it's not Dundee. His name is Steve. But let me tell you the story so we can go keep moving on. Excuse me. What happened was a stingray
Hit him in the heart. Yep.
hit him in the heart, and what did he do? He pulled it out. He died. Yep. Internal bleeding. So the same thing with we as men dealing with our emotions. If we try to deal with a wound that we are not physically able or mentally able to deal with, that can really affect us for the rest of our life.
Sure can, brother.
We can go ahead, we can go kill somebody, we can get on drugs, we can go alcohol abuse, we can commit suicide. Those things can be deadly if we do not know how to deal with it properly. Right. So let's move on. Take an arrow to the center of his heart in the place of his strength. Because the wound is rarely discussed and even more healed, every man carries a wound, and that wound is nearly always given by his father. How does that sound to you? And what does that mean to you?
Glad you asked, Tyron. Everybody takes an arrow in the heart. Mm-hmm. I guess what that means to me is it's strengthening you.
Okay.
So, I gotta put this. The wound's got to heal.
Okay.
But to heal, you got to heal around the wound.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just
That's right.
yank it out.
That's right.
Yank it out, you're gonna die.
That's right. Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
every man in his journey to become a man takes an arrow in the center of his heart.
Absolutely.
Which means that no matter what in life, you're gonna hit a point in your life where you don't know what you're doing.
That's right. Absolutely. And you have no direction. So basically what happens to us then, when we talk about dealing with this wound, it's an emotional wound, it's a physical wound, and there's a spiritual wound. That's all part of man. And if those things are not addressed the proper way, we can really be worse off than when we first started.
Right.
And if there's no father there to give us a direction, now, I'm not saying that there are no true fathers out there. There are some good fathers out there. But majority of us, generally speaking, have not been trained properly to know what a man is.
Right.
And we're gonna get into that. So, getting your bearings. I want you to read that for me, Brother Josh. Getting your bearings.
Your goal is simple but hard.
Mm-hmm.
To uncover your wound. You need to see how you've been wounded.
Oh, number one, okay.
Understand where the wound came from.
Okay.
And how it has shaped the way you lived your life, every day of your life, up to this moment today.
Okay, number one. So let's give it the first point. What was the first one you just said? We must what?
You need
Understand.
to see how you've been wounded.
How have you been wounded, man? How have you been wounded? You could have been wounded. You could have been sexually molested. Mm-hmm. You could have been emotionally molested in your childhood by a parent, abusive father. Could have been alcohol abuse in the family. It could have been a brother or a sister. It could have been, you could have been incarcerated. Whatever, when you were very young. All those things can contribute you to a man being wounded.
Second of all, we got to understand where the wound came from.
So how do we understand that, Brother Josh? How do we get to that point?
First we need to see how we've been wounded.
Okay.
And who wounded us.
Okay. So how do we address that issue? Now, for us, many of us that have not grown up with a father or did not have a father figure around us, and we know, or what we may have been told, what our father did, how do we heal that wound if we have no contact with that father? Or if we get in contact with him, how do we resolve that issue? To resolve that wound, because the wound...
You do what society tells us not to do.
And what's that?
You talk about it.
Oh, very good, very good, very good, very good. So that's the first thing that we have to do as men. We have to learn how to open up in our heart and express what we are feeling and what we're going through before we can get healing. I told Brother Josh this too, and if you watch us, if you follow us on Facebook and on Twitter and as well as on YouTube, you will see that we as men cannot get healing unless we're able to communicate what's hurting on us on the inside.
Right.
That's the only way we're going to get out. Okay, what you say, what you do, if you're hurting, if you don't know how to open up and talk to somebody or another brother that you can trust, you will never, ever get healing, ever.
Trail markers. Point number one. Every boy has two questions. Do I have what it takes?
Okay.
Am I powerful?
Okay. How do we know, have you ever said that? I know I've said it.
Yeah.
Do I have what it takes? Do I have what it takes? Sometimes I have, in my personal life, I have had doubt. And I've told y'all, share with y'all that I have got to points where I felt like just giving up. Because I didn't think I had what it takes to be successful. Now, success can be measured in many different ways. You don't have to be a millionaire. You ain't got to have the big house on the hill. Excuse me. You don't have to have the big house on the hill or the nice automobile or the nice clothes. Success can be measured by what you do for other people.
That's right.
Because what you have done for others, and if you bless somebody else to teach them to avoid the pitfalls that you have did in life, then you are successful.
Point number two. Most men live their lives haunted by the question or crippled by the answer they've been given.
And what is that? What questions have we asked that we have not gotten true answers about?
What it takes to be a man.
And many of us don't know what manhood is. So what does that mean if we ask the question to every man, generally speaking across the board, how many men do you think will be able to answer what is a man?
Not very many.
What is a man? What is a man? Do we really know? No, I'm going to deal with that. Do we really know what a man is? We say we men, I'm 21, I'm 18, I can produce a baby, I can do this, I can do that. Does that make you a man?
No.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make you a man. Because, just because you're of age, you're working, and you paying your little bills, that's a survival mechanism. God said in his word that if a man does not work, he shall not eat. So what does that mean? That means that ain't working, you ain't gonna eat, you ain't gonna live, you're gonna die. So all that is, that's right, you gotta work to eat. So all that is what we're saying to you out there, listen to this on YouTube, that don't make you a man. It doesn't make you a man. So we're gonna go get into the context of what manhood is and what is a man. One, what's the first one? What is a man? Definition.
Definition of a man. Reject passivity.
Okay, stop right there. What does the word passivity mean?
You're weak.
Okay.
Being passive, you don't stand up for what you believe.
Absolutely. So that means that you go with the status quo. So everybody in the world is doing, I tell you, a bad cough. Excuse me. So if everybody in the world, we talk about the man box again, if everybody in the world is doing the same thing, that makes you passive. Because you're not willing to go outside of that box and do what you feel is right instead of going along with your buddies. Well, let's go hang out tonight. Let's smoke some weed. Let's go get some girls. That's the box. And if you know you're trying to better yourself or make a career for yourself, well, brother, I can't go to you. I got some other things to do.
Man, you're a wussy, man. Come on,
That's right. Being passive, number one. What is a man? Definition. First is reject passivity. Number two.
Lead courageously.
Lead courageously. How do we lead courageously, Brother Josh?
I really don't know.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you. Lead courageously means, first, stand up for what you believe in. Even if nobody else follows you. You can be the... You can be the only one that can believe in something. And you believe in your heart that's the right thing to do. That's being courageous. Because you have to be willing to stand alone when all else fails. That's right. Same thing with me when I started MSF, almost 5 years now. I always said, if I could get 25 strong brothers, we could take over Durham, North Carolina. Never reached 25 strong brothers. But in the midst of all that, brothers that come and gone, I'm going to push forward. That's standing up for what you believe in. That's being courageous. When everybody else puts you down, oh man, that ain't gonna work, I ain't gonna do nothing, you ain't gonna do this. It don't matter. But Jesus went to the cross for us.
He led courageous.
That's being lead courageously.
Because he had a mission.
There you go.
He fulfilled his mission.
There you go.
Even though people prosecuted him.
There you go.
They beat him.
Absolutely. He led courageously. That's what we as men need to do. We have to put aside what people say about us, what they think about us, how they feel about it. That doesn't matter. Continue to press towards the mark of the high calling, and you will succeed. Eventually, you will succeed because you're standing up for what you believe in. Number three, what's the third one?
Accept responsibility.
Accept responsibility.
So
what does that mean?
If you mess up, take responsibility for your actions.
Absolutely. Be a man. Man up.
And fix it if you can.
That's right. Exactly. So when we accept responsibility, we're looking at the four principles of what is a man. We got to reject passivity. Jesus rejected that. No matter what nobody said, he spoke what he believed and he moved forward. Two, he led courageously. He accepted responsibility. No matter what they said about him.
And his responsibility was to go to the cross.
Was to go to the cross. That's right. He had to go to the cross for him to redeem us back to God. So the same thing in life. We as men, we're going to lead as an example and to win young boys and other men back to being rightfully, to being a man. We have to lead courageously and accept the responsibility. Well, I don't believe what you're saying. You ain't gonna tell me I ain't no man.
I'm still gonna believe what I believe.
There you go. That's what you have to do. Take that responsibility, whether people like it or not, and continue to move forward. And lastly,
accept God's greater reward.
So what is God's greater reward? What do you feel God's greater reward is for you as a man?
As a man?
After you do those four things, after you do those three things, reject passivity, lead courageously, accept responsibility.
You gonna live with him?
That's right. That's your reward. Now, we always said is that the scripture tells us we're not here to bang you over the head with religion. That's what we're not here for. Even though we're a Christian-based organization, we're not here to do that, but we're here to stand on the principle that we believe.